High energy introduction. Here we go. Welcome to Gym Owners Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there's John Fairbanks. How you doing, John?
I'm doing fabulous.
Guys, welcome to the show. This week, we're going to talk about something we were discussing with one of our Gear Academy gyms yesterday, gym owners, how to make the things that you do in your gym kind of automatically take care of themselves in the future, and how to take something from a pilot program to a permanent fixture in your gym. Everything from sales systems to seasonal plays to specialty programs, etc. We started helping a gym owner kind of build his yearly flow, his quarterly flow, and making sure that you don't have to do all this shit from scratch and do it all manually the next time, so that every year your business becomes more capable and it's not all built on your back as a gym owner and your labor. Before we get started, make sure you go to gymownersrevolution.com. You can get in the Gear Academy. You want us to help you work with your gym and make your gym kick ass the right way by being real ass dudes and not doing a bunch of the shady shit that's out there. That's the spot to be. We have the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. Link is in our description for the show. Follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. Please get out there, whatever app you're listening to this on, leave us a 5-star review, please. We always forget to hustle this because I don't really do, this isn't necessarily an entertainment product. So I don't really I don't really chase like fucking 5-star reviews and shit. But I always forget that is still kind of how things get prioritized on those apps, even though the podcast apps are just the most antiquated dog shit apps still. John, never has an industry stayed so far behind as podcast apps. It's crazy. Like, because Apple makes it impossible to search. There's no, like, all of them trying to find, if you like a comedian who has a show, go to Apple Podcasts or even to Spotify and search their name under, even sort by podcasts. Most of the times you're only going to find their show. Like, you can't just sort like, oh, as a guest. Like, there really is no larger
filter
archive. There's no larger filtering options within those. And it's just, I remember talking to Tommy from Assonomics about it. He said they're all hot garbage and none of them have gotten any better.
Yeah, they don't need to.
It really is rough.
they don't need to.
And this is years ago. This has been years, but it really is the way it is. One of the interesting things about it, won't fucking derail too long, but like, there's no censorship in these podcast apps, though. You know what I mean? Like, you can say crazy shit on YouTube and YouTube's algorithm will flag it because it's combing every word you say. So still at its root, podcasting is still what I describe. Somehow, it's convoluted and diluted it is still somehow has a little bit of rebel radio in it. So that's what we're here for. So thanks a lot for listening to the Gym Owners Podcast. That's all we got to say. We'll see you next week.
Leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah, one of those schmucks who releases like 7 2-minute episodes a fucking week and acts like they're out here hustling. Get the fuck out of here. So let's get to it, guys. So we were talking with one of our gym owners yesterday, kind of helping him build his. He does a program, and I don't know. Can we kind of share what his program is, because I think it's worth getting into the specifics for what his gym is.
And we can stay general enough because the principle will apply to any of you that coach anyone 18 and under.
Yeah. So this gym primarily, he coaches some adults, but in a private setting. But for the most part, it's youth performance coaching and off-season coaching, kind of categorized in different age groups. But it's young kids all the way up to teenagers getting ready for, hoping to get some college looks and stuff like that. But he does a seasonal camp that I just really, really like for these times when kids are at home. And it's like a 2-3 day ordeal, and it's a couple 3 hours a day. But it's literally like, I've never really thought to do this, even when I had my gym, to like do this thing right in the middle during Christmas break. During it. Normally, that as a gym owner, I'm like, I'm trying to not be working. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to cancel the things I'm trying to do during this time. But this is like such a great thing for like especially the kids at this age. I'd say this is probably anywhere from ages like 9 to 15 is kind of how he has his setup, probably younger kids. But he runs this camp every year while the kids are home and away from school, and parents fucking love it because it's physical activity. Kids get a little wore out, and it gets them out of fucking house, which is, when you got young kids, that is your primary goal, is to get rid of them as often as possible and make them tired by the time they get back. And This program has always performed really well for them. And we just started building some other systems into it where we make an offer where they can use that some of the credit from that purchase and they get it to apply to joining some of the semi-private programs for the next month. Big discounts. If you participate in this thing, do this thing. Or if you buy the full thing for the next month, you get this camp free. Because a lot of them are group stuff, it's not all hour to hour, it's not all, you can kind of give away some of this stuff or discount some of it. And as long as you're getting the extra business, it really is worth doing. It's not one-to-one on labor every time you double the capacity or double if someone attends twice, it doesn't cost you any more to fulfill. I guess that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and this is we're going to get into the meat of this in this episode of this principle. But if you actually zoom back, he's done this style of camp actually 3 different times with nothing bookended on it, right? There was no actual plan for something to happen next purposefully. Yeah. And so this is actually the next iteration, right? The next version 3.0 of this camp. So there may be a lot of you that run a kids thing, or maybe you have done a camp before. You do something that brings people in for a limited time to experience your culture and your coaches and the community and all that stuff. But then you just leave it alone. And this is what he had done previously. And this is where immediately you and I identified a month and a half ago, hey, there's more to prep for what you already know you're going to do. Let's actually build this so it becomes something that can be more, so that it is more valuable than just, it's a couple days. It's great. I make some quick cash for the holidays and then I feel good. It's like you could actually have this be long-term, have some continuity that's built into it. And that's actually part of this process, what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. So one of the things let's walk this back, right? So what happens here is he markets for this thing, he closes sales for this thing. Everybody is getting an offer that allows them to opt into some coaching products, time spots, whatever, for the following month. That's kind of the deal. It's a bundled deal. So it is a way to attract leads for the next one. It's kind of a way to fill the January schedule, if you will. And so doing this, it's a big attractor because people want to do this camp. The kids want to do it. The parents want to do it. But tying that to the next thing is great. That on its own isn't really, I think that's great. That's a great idea. This thing works really well. That's not what we're here to talk to you about today. What we're here to talk to you about is how to make this thing your thing that you do many times a year and make it easier to execute, easier to do, more successful, more optimized. And John, we had kind of gone through this. Where do we want to start? Let's go with the things that you're going to do with this, the kind of how you're going to do this. We kind of call it the reps method, but it's very simple. The first thing you're going to do, if you have, and some of this, maybe y'all are very far past this, if you have all your processes built and whatever, if you're like a super type A dork, you do this automatically. And I'm proud of you. But some of us got to be like, okay, some of us are doing things by the seat of our pants and we have to figure them out as we go. And this is how we build them from something we've done by the seat of our pants into like a permanent structure in your business. So if you're a know-it-all brilliant business person, hey, fucking props to you, man. You don't got to listen to this show. But the first thing you need to do is record everything that you do. That is documenting all your actions, communications, and everything that you create, which means all that kind of needs to live in one space. Now, this is something that you would be surprised how often it's not done, right? You really would. But I have to do it for every program that I have, and I have to do it separately. Every bit of social media content, every email that gets sent out. And also the important thing is starting to have your sales correspondences and things like this for when people reach out to you, like, hey, tell me about this program. What do you tell them? Are you writing all that up from scratch? And by the way, I do that at first. Because I'm just like, I just kind of don't build a bunch of stuff. It happens. I sell a few things. From that point, then I start figuring out what worked and what didn't. But I don't want to have to manufacture this correspondence from the ground up every time. So what I do then is I take this, I copy it, I paste it somewhere. Right. In the beginning, when I'm working on it, very often it's just going to stay in like a note on my iPhone. I just have notes for this program. And then that will get moved over to like my Google Drive folder that I have for a specific program.
And Tyler, the reason why it's so important to record it, right, is that if you don't do this one simple step from the get-go, it's kind of like documenting That's so cheesy. That's a cheesy phrase. Documenting your journey, right? If you don't document that journey of whatever it is that you're doing, you will guarantee that you remain stuck doing that forever. You'll
Yes, that's the
never be able
biggest
to get
part.
out of that. And that is super important to where you do eventually want to get out from underneath that, or at bare minimum, have something to fucking reference 11 months later.
Yeah.
Because without it, you don't
And
have it.
there's no way to have this perfect. You can do use all your great copywriting wisdom, but obviously the first person who's asking you the question, answer their question.
Mhm.
Be a goddamn human, but answer that question with the plan, like knowing that whole thing should be underpinned with, all right, I'm going to use this though next time, right? So when I'm going to answer that question, I'm going to work it and I'm going to feel out this conversation, but I need to turn this thing into best practices,
Yeah.
one way or another, right? And that does get to, we want to jump right to the next piece because this is also we're doing this right now just on, let's say, correspondence, but we'll zoom out and run through this whole system again for the system as a whole, if that makes sense, right? But on the correspondence, then you need to evaluate.
Yeah.
That's step two.
And being able to review what went well every single time and be able to identify what is going good or what needs improvement, right? This is in essence what this piece is, because whether it is an email, whether it is DMs, like you should really be paying attention to, did I send a message that then got a response, continued to go well, and ended up with a sale? I don't fucking care what swipe files are out there or what somebody will allow you to download for free if you sell them your soul or whatever it is. It's that one thing that you just did is a proven successful method. So that is actually what ends up becoming your personal template, because what's most important is that it has your voice.
Yeah.
Every one of these things are your attitude, your style, your brand, right? All those cheesy fucking things. It's really, really important because it came from you. It was successful. And now if you use that as your template to build off of or refine and sharpen during the evaluation phase,
Yeah. And
makes it to where
this
well,
is
you
an
talk about this all the
ongoing
time, Tyler.
process. This is an ongoing
Exactly.
process. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. If I message somebody, I am constantly, so what I do is I recorded the thing that I sent them the first time. Okay.
Mhm.
Then I'm going to go and I'm going to paste that in next time someone asks me a question about this program I'm selling. But from there, I have to look at it and go, okay, but what did they really ask? Right. And I still read it before I send it out. And I go, I will instinctively, some things just catch my, oh, I wish this was different. I wish this was different. As a person, if you've ever written or created things,
Mhm.
sometimes the best thing you can do, I'm a very much a first draft guy, but I will beat up my shit for the first draft. Like I'm very thorough. I get my first drafts are very further along than most people. But
Mhm.
the best thing for me is to then walk away from it and I'll come back and immediately some things will rub me the wrong way and I'll have a much more kind of like optimized, tuned in approach. Some things get simplified, some things get deleted, some things get expanded upon. But that's the game you play with everything. So I paste it back in, and this evaluation process is ongoing. And so I'm
Mhm.
going through this and I go, okay, I wish I'd done this differently. But then this becomes the new standard. That goes back and replaces. So I'm constantly recording, evaluate. Um, the next step, John,
Mhm.
we call it the P and reps post-mortem. Okay. And this is about really discussing the whole thing. Like as a
Yeah.
whole, how did the whole thing go? This is now you start looking at the program as a whole. You're like, okay, I didn't sell shit here. Maybe the larger strategy was wrong. There's a lot of
And
things that need to go into this.
and timeline wise, this is after your thing is done.
Correct.
Right. I
This
think
is
it's
not during. I think those first two steps really are kind of can be going on during it, not after. The evaluates thing is really in real time. Okay,
correct.
post-mortem has got to be after the whole thing is done. We had to objectively go, well, I thought the communication went really, really good. And I was really good at sending the messages and the Facebook stuff went good. And you're like, we got three fucking people and we needed
Exactly.
30. So no matter
Mhm.
how good you were at closing the three, and that's part of the post-mortem process here is that how maybe we were great at closing the three. Well, in knowing that I thought those how we handled it once we got leads went well, then we go, okay, well, that's not the gap.
Right.
The gap is in not in lining people up and stacking people into that part of the process. We did not attract enough to get into that game. So that's where we need to start troubleshooting and putting resources.
And what I like most, because this post-mortem concept is It's really important when you do it right after. Like you wanted to have it within 7 days of closing the cart, selling out, whatever that thing is. When it ends, you want it within 7 days because you want it to be fresh. You
Yeah.
want it to be in your mind. So whether you're throwing an event, a challenge, a camp, anything that you've done, coming back to review, either if it's just yourself, you and the coach that was involved, or you and your entire team to say, hey, what went well, right? If we're taking a look at this, it's what has gone well, what sucked, what do we want to see be done better, or how could we improve this? Because if you wait beyond kind of that first week, the sting or the edge, because there's been an event. I mean, Tyler, we were at an event for a client of ours once where it was the wrong food to like they were supposed to have food be
Yeah.
available at the event. And one food truck that they had contacted never contacted them back, just never heard from them. So they had to naturally reach out to another dude. On the day of the fucking event, you now have 2 food trucks that have shown up. The first guy that
Which
never
means
confirmed.
both are pissed because they're splitting
Oh,
business.
and we're like, what the fuck? So immediately that was a problem. The stress of that in real time is really fucking real. And somebody's got to put on big boy pants and tell somebody to get fucked.
Yeah.
You don't want that edge to go away because you've let time go and it wasn't all right. Well, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, we got to figure it out. It's like, no, that could have been a catastrophically
Yeah.
large problem for your event. You
If
want
you
that to
let
freshen
too
up
much
wound.
time settle in between what successes, failures, whatever, too much time settles in between the time the thing is finished and the time you're addressing this stuff, when you're really going through what really worked, where did we fall on our face, where did we fuck up, what happens is it doesn't hurt as much.
Correct.
And it just goes, and you can go back to having kind of like a casual attitude about it. And you don't have to go, we really fucked up on not getting confirmation. And now when I send the food truck guy thing and I don't hear anything back, I do got to follow up with everybody who said we didn't hear back and said, hey, just to let you know, I didn't hear anything from you. We are now going to have this spot filled by so-and-so. So I appreciate, fuck you for not answering your shit is kind of what I would do, but whatever, right? But I do think but that's obviously like kind of a minor example, which isn't based on the success nor failure of the thing. But if you're going to do the thing every year, you cannot be having bunches of little things like that add up.
Right.
So that is the thing. I just think that in hindsight, the timeline in which you turn around and address this stuff needs to be fast because
And with
the
go
pain
ahead.
goes away.
It does.
Yeah.
And what I like for this post-mortem meeting is I want the post-mortem meeting I would love to have it be like an hour, because, or 45 minutes, where you can give a solid half, like you're going to give 50%, you're going to serve 2 masters in this meeting. The first one is looking back at what you've just done. How can you improve all those pieces? But then there is that improvement of like now forward looking, which takes us to the S phase of our reps method, which is the strategizing portion.
Yeah.
Because now it becomes increasingly important to now be like, all right, what can we improve upon to
And
be
I
able to make
do
this
think
better?
the vast majority of this step, this strategizing step, is done really, like you said, immediately following that post-mortem process. These
Right.
are not separate things. These things all flow
Mhm.
into each other. So
Correct.
at this point, you're going to use everything that went on when we're really just looking back and assessing the situation and go, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? This is the part where I like it because it's just very practical problem solving. It's I can
Mhm.
say this fucked up, you fucked up, this didn't work, this is what we should have done differently. Things should be very clear here. And that's important here.
Yes.
This isn't a thing where you're like, maybe the specific execution of each thing. But like I said before, if you closed a high percentage of people that reached out of your leads, okay,
Mhm.
and the program went really well, actually, the people who did it really liked it. What is your problem? We need more leads, right? That does start to go, this is the gap that we need to fill. This is everything went so smooth, we needed more bodies to get through. So okay, now we can start to put our time and research. We may not know, by the way, this first time through
Mhm.
exactly how to solve that problem and what the first move is. And by the way, we may try some things and improve upon that issue, but we have to run through this entire process, record, evaluate, postmortem, and strategize. The next time we run it, because again, we're going to now try to solve this not getting the leads problem, because everything else was great. It was profitable. People loved it. They got results. Everybody had a really good time. Our coaches did good. Like, it was great for the gym, the whole thing. Fuzzy vibes, man.
Yeah.
Now we need more people. And so you can go back and go, is it leads? By the way, what if you got a shitload of leads and you couldn't close hardly any of them? Any
Mhm.
of them. Okay, now we need to start troubleshooting this sales process. Like, what is happening? Is it in the communications? Maybe our lead quality is bad, right? That's one way to go about it. Again, what if you get tons of people in and they don't fucking like it? Well, then we can worry about fulfillment. What if they don't get results? Then we need to work on accountability within the fulfillment, or maybe structurally there's something wrong with the program.
I can't tell you how many times during a post-mortem conversation when we have with a gym owner, it's, "Hey, where did these leads come from?"
Mm,
"Oh, I don't know." It's like,
yeah,
all right, we need to add that. That's now our strategy for the next time we do this, is that when we're communicating, whether it's the flyer, the sheet that everybody's got to fill out to make sure you're not going to get sued, like all those things. Well, did you collect their phone numbers? Did you get their email?
mhm,
Oh, well, no. It's like, oh, well, then, because ultimately, if it's your first rodeo, right, doing this shit, you have to give yourself a lot of grace. If you're doing these things for the first time, you're going to do your best. It's going to be the worst version that you will ever attempt ever. And you just have to accept that once you get to this postmortem process, it's okay if there are, just like you said, Tyler, glaring fucking things that
yeah,
you would do better or different. But you have to be of the mindset that you want it to improve, and that it's not just, oh, we're content with the way things are,
yeah.
because they don't
Now
just get better by accident.
this process needs to be executed on a micro scale as well. Like, this is where micromanaging, I think, matters, because especially on recording stuff, is we need to do this as a whole, small, like every piece of communications, so that it can be standardized, so that I can have somebody who's running the front desk, or a VA in the Philippines, or I can just automate a lot of these conversations so that it just goes. And so this is super important that this happen in on a micro scale, but it's
Yeah.
also very important that it happen on a macro scale as well, because when I'm zoom out again at the end, it goes, not only the successes of selling this program, right, or
Mhm.
whatever I'm saying program, but like whatever this is, of attracting people, selling them, fulfilling it, um, then the follow-up for the program is still a part of this program. That's the stuff that's important for the gym as a whole. Meaning, for those of you out there, if you really do this process completely for everything you do in your gym, you're going to go, shit, I am missing a ton of opportunities on the back end of this, like really bad. That's where
Yep.
most people do. Whether things are successful in the beginning doesn't really matter. If something's done well, it can grow if it's done repeatedly. But
Yeah.
how is it successful for your gym? Are you reaching out to these people afterwards? How are you setting this program up to be successful next time? Am I getting specific reviews and testimonials about this program? Am I getting
Mhm.
reviews and testimonials about the gym as a whole? Am I reaching out to these people to ask them, offer them something? Hey, do you want to sit down and have like a nutrition consultation about what's next for you? Do we want to talk supplements? Do you want to, hey, are you interested in continuing this type of thing with us? Or hey, we have a special offer for people that did this program. If you want to level up your membership or whatever it is for next month, here's your thing. You're going to find there's so many opportunities that you leave on the table on the back end of this, because you let too much time go. Oh, it's over. We fulfilled it, blah, blah, blah. And you put blinders on until next year. People do it with their kids' programs all the time. There's things they just try to turn on at the last minute. Um,
Yep.
Anything that's seasonal, specialty programs, it's just like, yes, this is idea. Let's do idea. And then idea has been done and now it's over. And it never becomes a system. It never gets a chance to really exist within your business. And it never gets a chance to grow into anything. And that's just doing a thing and then doing it again is the fucking worst. Doing that thing needs to feed something else in your gym and
Mhm.
give these people opportunities, and also be like, what's the word, needs to be chiseled into concrete, the experience that they had, because you need those reviews, you need those testimonials to sell the thing the next time. If you don't ever get one, if you don't ever do this on the back end, people get stuck in this. Gym owners with programs and shit, they just always feel like every new thing they launch is like a bit underwhelming. and they never really run to it again, or they do it and everything is just kind of meh. And if nothing ever really transcends and builds momentum from year to year in your gym, that's why you're not closing the loops on the tail end, and you have to strategize this shit at the end. That's what it really is. I got to zoom back and go, the program was the program, but did we make the most of the program for the gym? And assessing that thing as a whole, that's what's got to be done. And in my opinion, that and standardizing the communications in the beginning, those are the two things that I bet most of you guys aren't doing well.
No, because
It's the
it
back and
always is an
forth.
afterthought. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
oh, just trying to remember. And it is your job as the gym owner.
Yeah.
So if you are a solopreneur, you're doing it all yourself, it's early stages, all of this is your job. But if you are the gym owner and you have the coaches, guess what? They're not going to be thinking about all of these steps that are necessary. And the one way you can always, we've talked about this principle so much where it's like, you're not going to find fucking aces out there to come in and coach your group classes and be amazing personal trainers. Because if they're fucking great, they're already employed or they fucking work for themselves and they're not going to take a pay cut to come work for you.
Yeah.
So if you want to be able to ensure that your quality control is top fucking notch, these are the literal steps you need to fucking do. You have to be able to record everything. You have to be able to evaluate. You have to go through you as the gym owner. You're the one that does this because then this empowers you to give everybody essentially a playbook for every single thing you do.
Yeah. If this doesn't get done by you, the odds of you getting someone in who's a go-getter enough, who's going to go, oh yeah, you're to have me coach some classes and greet people at the door when they come in. You know what we should do about this program is we should write down everything. So I'll create a Google Drive folder and a document, and we can, like, the odds are you're going to get somebody who's going to come in off the street to just coach. I hate to break it to you. If you're hiring people to coach, they're going to come in and fucking lace up their shoes and they're going to coach and they're going to get the fuck out. Or they're going to work out until it's time to leave.
Work out.
I promise you guys. Listen, I promise. I've known enough coaches in the world. They're not going to do anything extra, not at all, based on their own initiative. They won't. They will coach, and great coaches coach greatly. But they're not going to take on this burden for you. But the moment you have this done, okay, when someone comes in and you have an expectation for them to execute a certain part of this play that you're trying to do, now they have all the step-by-step instructions. You don't have to say, hey, coach, log into this thing and do this thing, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to do it until the day you don't follow up with them on it, and they're going to stop. Yep. Not all of them. Not all coaches are divas, just the vast majority of them. So it's very important. Once this is done now by you, you can now start to hand this off to somebody else, and now it's off your plate. It's also easy to explain, and it's very easy to hold them accountable. And then you can involve them in this process. The most important thing in building teams with some of the larger business structures that I've worked with is meeting regularly, even when it's not that fucking important. I'm not a big fan of constant, overwhelming meetings, but it's when we were having team meetings every week, what happened is every week was dialed in for kind of this week's focus. Right? Same process, right? What are we trying to do in this week? What are our points of emphasis for this month? Every week we check in on that data. We discuss it. We're held accountable to what went on in the last week. We provide feedback as employees about, hey, here's how I think. If we're trying to do this, I think this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. And we address it and we game plan for it. And at the end of the week, at the end of the month, we look back and go, okay. And now that all of us are out of it, the management essentially is going to have their own meeting where all the lower people whose feelings and ideas are coming from underneath and on the ground, and theirs out of the way. And then they can assess how this really worked for the business as a whole, the employees as well. They factor that in, but that's got to be the process that you start to do for everything. And the thing about this process, everything beyond the recording part, right? Mm-hmm. Just recording the things that you're doing, making sure that they're written down, that your strategies are done. Really, like, how often did we post about this on social media? I can go back and look. But if you write down how many posts you want a week about this thing and how many stories you want a week about this and how you want to do things between platforms, and maybe we want to make a slick video that shows that is an announcement for this thing or whatever we want to do. Mm-hmm. Those are all written down as steps. Okay. If those are written down, they'll get done. What normally happens when a gym launches a specialty program is they go, yeah, so we'll post about it a bunch. And somehow somebody makes a graphic together and then it gets posted. And then that's it. Once, I mean, and then maybe towards the end when they're having a hard time selling. And I was talking to a gym owner yesterday about we were selling some seminar stuff. And it was like, yeah, we
Mhm.
got like, we got a significant amount of sales in today. And I said, yeah, because we've you put it into DMs of other gym owners that are in your area who may have people said, hey, we're putting this thing on. We want to make sure it's for your type of people. If you're interested, here's a deal for you. We also posted about it on our thing. We created the event. We sent out a bunches of invite, but just know that all of that effort that we did now, if that stopped, this is all the sales you're going to fucking get. I had to explain to them
Mhm.
like it stops now. If this momentum stops now, and I tell them the only time that I am selling things at a rate that is the rate that I would prefer, right? Is when you're hustling your shit and you're hustling it pretty hard, pretty consistently. I can promise you, if you're not seeing me posting about coaching or selling programs, it's because I'm not really worried about selling them at that moment. If I'm posting them a lot, you can know during that time that I have sold a lot and that momentum is moving. And I don't have the time to fulfill on things like this. I'm not really worrying about it out there. But I can promise you, the only times I'm overwhelmed with sales is when I am overwhelming everybody with the marketing and the noise about the program. If you do not make noise, nobody will hear your shit. So in writing down that strategy, now you're not responsible for executing it always. You can
Right.
say, when we launch programs, here is our program launch strategy. We make a video announcing the launch real quick, just with the phone. We do this in the Facebook group for the gym owners. We send an email. All that stuff needs to be documented, like micro and macros, from step by step, then to links to the copy. Like, just build this shit out. If you're like one of those super tight, if you were the person who always had a pen in class when you were in high school. I wasn't that guy. Okay. If you were the person who brought pens and pencils to your classes and took
Mhm.
notes, this should be so easy for you. This is right in your
Mhm.
wheelhouse.
Mhm.
This is not for me. This takes work for me to put this in here. So, by the way, if this sounds like the most rudimentary basic business shit, I get it, but there's a lot of, I promise you, there is a lot of gym owners listening to this that are not executing on these steps the way that they should. And it's costing them tons of money and it's making really good ideas fail. And there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a good idea that should be successful that's not supported with effort. Because
I
now you're taking a good idea that could serve a bunch of people and you're
Mhm.
just stuffing its face in the dirt and you're fucking walking away. And it's shame on
I'm
you because it's your idea. You gave birth to it and you said, nah, fuck it.
I'm gonna challenge that you guys just fucking are all about abortion of your ideas.
You guys, I've never seen very few industries like gym owners just like have a great idea and just like lob the idea out into the world and barely
You just push it
support it.
down the stairs. You're just like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this beautiful idea could be
fuck it.
birthed into something amazing. Ah,
No,
fuck it. Here's a hanger and here's the stairs."
no.
Because
It's it
it is.
doesn't. But my biggest complaint is that there's a lack of enthusiasm on the marketing side, which is why I always say it, systemize it. Just say, what do you think should go out the first time?
Mhm.
Don't attach yourself to making the content and all the things now there's nothing worse than writing a long thing, explaining a thing that you like and getting 3 likes. But that's not the point. We're not chasing likes, we're chasing sales. So just go, how many times do I think I should have to post about this? And what's a plan? Well, just make up a strategy out of thin air based on no fucking data. Don't even Google what you should maybe do to do that. Just don't. Just make one up. But then you'll know whether it worked or didn't by the next time. And then you'll make some changes. More of this, maybe less of this. Like, what do you think? This is the biggest thing in fitness marketing where small gyms especially fail. Um, is they just don't take the thing on with any sort of vigor because I think they know that their approach to explaining it is not going to be very good, right? You're walking up to the platform, okay, and you're going to deadlift in front of the whole world and you're going to put it out there, right? Except the
Right.
problem is you've never deadlifted before. So you know what? It's not going to be as good as it's going to be in 5 years.
Of
Does
course.
that mean you never go up there and deadlift?
For some.
No, for you, yeah, I guess for some of you, but I think but I do think to assume that because you weren't great at this the first time around that you should never do it again is no. But what happens is people go up and they max out on this day and it doesn't go well and it looks like shit. And then they go, I'm never going to do this again. Or even worse, they do it again and they just do it the same way. They just wait a
Yeah.
year and they go and turn it on the same way. They go, we just have this fledgling thing that we barely put any effort into. And yeah, it's a shame.
Now,
Unless your shit's filling up, you make one post and your shit's full. Perfect. Minimize the effort. Do one post again. Now you can know. If you were full after your first post and you had a 10-step marketing plan, delete those next 9 fucking steps and you're good to go for next year.
or
Or you need to
allow us to
triple your capacity.
allow us to drag your bitch ass out into deep water and get out of your fucking comfort zone. Because that is the reality. Realistically, when we were working with our gym owner yesterday, and we're talking about now his specific camp and his setup and how we've already have improved this version, the version 3.0. You and I were already on version 12.0 of being like, now listen.
Like, you need 2 more coaches for this thing. Let's bonus out the coaches based on this and that. We don't want to alternate time slots because then it gets complicated to fill. It's easier to find one thing. So can we spill over indoor, outdoor? Can we do some more stuff? How do we double our capacity for this? Because not only is this program lucrative as a standalone program, it feeds the whole first quarter of your business easily. And it's just so easy to do that there's no reason to limit its opportunity. And that's what those are the insights you get when you walk through this process as a whole.
And the benefits of talking to you and I about it. Like, the fact is that because this gym owner is with us on a weekly basis and we're in his business, we allow him to not get stagnant. Because the normal process is you go through all of those learning pains that you talked about, version after version, and pain, and realizing what worked, what didn't. And eventually you start becoming successful. And the success is to the point where, which it was for him, it was, man, I made a couple posts and we got 5 more slots and we're going to be sold out. Like, it's perfect. Just like that. And it's like, okay, then we can't allow you.
No, John, you just said it. Just like last year. And that's where we go, well, that's not fucking good enough.
Correct.
And again, we're not holding anybody to the fire, but we go, if just like last year is the goal, business ownership isn't for you. Because just like last year doesn't work. Just like last year will eventually be almost like last year. Or at the very least, everything's going to be the same. And you need growth lest you constantly be stuck in the same spot.
Tyler, is inflation just like last year?
Inflation is just like last year, or worse or less, whatever it is, it's still going.
It's like other things are going to be happening.
If your business can't grow by my calculations at the grocery store alone,
32%,
30 to 50% in the last few years, like, if your business isn't producing that much, I promise you, it's that much harder for you to eat. So go, man. You gotta get that nut. You gotta cover it. Like, it's super important that you constantly, if you have a program that is good and does well for you, getting complacent about it is you're just killing it. You're just letting it die. It's not gonna run off on its own and take a mind of its own and develop into a real boy and grow up and do its own thing. Like, you do constantly have to nurture the development of this thing until you've delegated even the management and development of it. If you zoom out to a macro point, you can go, I have a coach who is responsible for this top down. And the only thing I need to check in with them on is, where are we at? How did it perform on a few other metrics? And now when it's not growing, now that person is accountable to you about it. That's where you get to. But until then, you are the one who needs to worry about all of those things until you've recorded and evaluated it and developed it to the point where you can then put that on somebody else's plate.
Now, you've talked directly to those new gym owners that are still early on. Early on. For the gym owners, what you just described, which is this idea of having a coach that's now responsible for it. The number one mistake we see from you all, so those gym owners that have a GM or a coach that's responsible for a program or class or club or your entire floor, right, for fitness, it's, if you don't have these recordings, if you don't have the expectations and checklists and everything that's in place, it's not going to be. Things will always be done just kind of okay or kind of right, because you poke your head up just long enough to say, hey, something's fucking wrong. Or, you know what, actually, hey, take the day off. And you have them take the day off because you secretly now want to be able to get an idea of how the gym is flowing based off of this person's work that they've been
Yep.
doing while you haven't been looking because you've been doing busy and important shit elsewhere. The reality is if you want these programs to be successful, if you want an event to be successful, if you want any of these new things, you are the one that has to kind of put some sweat equity into this, or at least then start working or engaging and networking with people that have successfully done it so that at least you have a starting point. But you cannot have the expectations that, oh, the guy will just will know what to do. People have to have frameworks. They have to have a
Yeah.
system to follow. Otherwise, that painful startup time, ramp up time to see success and be able to afford being in a comfort zone of success will be so long and drawn out that that person will leave before you ever have the opportunity to
Yeah.
actually see what it could have become.
And this is, I always draw our analogies back to you're coaching a fitness client, right? You're coaching a regular
Mhm.
client. If I want a regular client to be successful in weight loss, strength training, whatever it is, um, these steps really are all the same. They need to
Mhm.
follow a plan. If there isn't a plan, the things that I make them do, I need to write them down because I can't
Yeah.
just be making them up as I go along. There needs to be a plan. Then I need to evaluate the success nor failure of this plan in real time. Okay. Then they need to actually be accountable to it. They need to
Mhm.
be held accountable to it, just like you're going to do with your coaches, your meetings. You, if it's just you are accountable to the outcomes of this, but you can't put blinders on. This is why when I have a program, here is your plan. Here is the frameworks you need to work in. You need to check in with me. If there is issues with this, let me know. This is why I tell people if you're looking for weight loss, you weigh yourself every day. You follow the plan, but you weigh yourself every day.
Mhm.
Constantly. We are constantly going, this is working, this is not. Because I can go and go, well, I think you're just not doing it. That's what I think. You're just not doing it. Or maybe you're sick, you're holding water, whatever. Over time, then I can decide in the end. We look back and go, this is why it didn't work. You know why? You know why some of my programs, when people fail, you know why my 10% of people that don't get the results they came for, they're the ones that stop checking in and stop weighing themselves every day. All of a
Of
sudden,
course.
the ones that aren't sending me pictures of their workouts or checking in when they're with their just morning weigh-in, simple thing. What do you weigh this morning? If you won't
Mhm.
step on the scale in the morning for this thing, I know it's because you know you fucked up and I know you're not doing it. And so, but that's very easy then for me in hindsight to go. The problem is it's not about at the end going, oh, well, this person is wrong. So fuck you. It's no. What now do I need to change about my program that can make sure that that person is successful? So it is, someone does not check in with me that morning, they get, I would kind of give people a day of grace. You know what I mean? And now I
Sure.
stopped. I've just stopped. If you don't check in with the morning, I go, dude, what the fuck? Because that is what you're there for. You want the results. These are the steps that it takes to get the results. And I think that for those of you guys that coach clients and are in gyms, you understand that process
Of
within the
course.
program, your gyms for your clients, and
Yeah.
yet you just neglect it so often in your business. It's like, no. This is how it all works. All of it is this. It's
Yeah.
fractal. Okay, this is from the macro to the micro. This is just the way you're going to need to do it. So if you have any questions or want us to work with you directly, get in the fucking Gear Academy.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing. Like these are the things we do. If you got a program launch, perfect. Let's run through all of this with the things that you're trying to do, and then let's make sure that this ties into your business as a whole. How do we make a successful thing into a successful thing that feeds more successful things? And that's the difference between somebody that goes around throwing off a bunch of one-offs and having fun little events and somebody that really builds a system that grows.
And
So,
in the Gear Academy, so you guys know too, is that it is going to be built whether you are brand new and you don't even have 10 people. You're not even collecting email addresses yet.
yeah,
You're brand new, you're out of the basement of your home and you've made a kick-ass home gym and you want to start a club or whatever it is, and you want to take it to that next level. We do have people that talk to us about that are in that exact same scenario, all the way to I have thousands and thousands of people on an email list. I've been in business for a long time and I'm just ready to take it up to the next level. And I want to be able to have a coach and somebody's going to hold me accountable to help me do those next things.
we've
It all
started with
works.
gyms that were operating with no business license, weren't fucking doing taxes really,
Mhm.
and we helped them get everything above board so that it became a
Yeah.
thing that you could go buy finance a goddamn car if you needed one, that your business is a real business.
Yeah.
And we've worked with businesses now. We've had multiple businesses that we work with, gyms that have multiple locations. And so we go from gym. One of our success stories, we had a younger coach who was just starting up coaching people in the park. Finally, let's almost 1 year to the day, 1 year, maybe a month, went from coaching people in the park, working with us. We developed his initial launch strategies. He got into his new building, started in his new building about a year ago, and now it's 1 year and it's been wildly successful out of his day job soon. Is that going to be this winter? I don't want to spoil the beans. His boss ain't listening,
By
but
the
he'll
end of
be out of
Q1.
out of his day job soon, and is really, 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 really killing it. Has staff that does really well. Has built a tremendous reputation. Again, went from kind of part-time doing some things in the park seasonally to now like has a location and is going to be a centerpiece in the community in his area. And I think that's fantastic. So if you want to be about that life, fucking this is what's up. I don't know. Like you can go to all the other places. There's all the other dipshits out there are going to tell you like, I'll give you 1,000 members. I'll get you you guys as a gym owner, you get the same stuff that we get in your fucking targeted ads, and it's all the worst shit. It's all insane. It's like even you can get 30 members. We'll give you 30 members in 30 days, and you're just going to go,
Today.
oh my God, that would be
Today,
fantastic. If I got 30 new members, and I immediately go soft gym math, and I go, well, if I only sell them into my $150, that's $4,500 extra this month. And you mean they can do that again the next month? And you start doing what's even worse, exponential gym math, which is the dumbest. You're like, at this rate, I'll make $10 million in 2 years.
Me and Bezos are going to be on a yacht together.
Yeah. And that's just not how this works. Okay. So it takes real strategies. It takes some real shit to go on the ground. And it's your people, your clients. It needs to be focused on their success. And them other schmucks, they're just going to line up a bunch of dipshits at front of your inbox. And then when you don't sell, it's your fault. And when they don't get success, you can just blame them. And that's pretty much how it goes until your reputation has gone completely tits up because of it.
You can also try paying your coaches less, right? That's another
By the way,
option
that's
we hear.
one of the other strategies you're going to get from the other people. It's like, have you tried paying your coaches as little as possible and just let them quit? Fucking insane. Yeah. So fuck all them dorks, guys. You want to do the real stuff. Just get in. Actually, it can still be your business. It can still be about your clients, and we don't got to do any shady, misleading bullshit. That's what we're here to do. So let's practically troubleshoot your business one step at a time, based on whatever the next thing you want to do is. So if that's what you're into, go to gymownersrevolution.com. Links in the description. Join the Gym Owners Revolution Facebook group. Follow the show at the Gym Owners Podcasts on Instagram. Follow me at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFFIN Stone. And John?
And you can follow me on Instagram at JBanksFL.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you next week.